The first presentation I chose is from Unit 3 and is titled How to Write the Results of a Survey. The first topic was about how college students should structure the results section of a survey, covering the 8 main steps. It also explained how to use percentages and stay objective. What really caught my attention was the example on page 4 showing how to use student quotes in the final report. This part was very practical for future projects. I really enjoyed this presentation because the professor was very confident and used a highly engaging style. The pace was logical and easy to follow. However, I think the visual aids could have been better. For example, some of the slides were packed with too much text, which made them hard to read quickly. That was presentation 1 from Unit 3. Now, let's move on to presentation 2. The second presentation is based on Unit 4 titled Modes of Speculation. This presentation covered and discussed the main features of a particular literary genre. What really drew my attention was the part where the professor connected the unit's subject matter to a recent event or something from their personal experience. It made the topic very relatable. My general assessment is that it was excellent because the language used at the B1 level was accurate and the examples provided were highly effective for illustrating complicated concepts. If I had to suggest an improvement, it would be to slightly increase the pace as the professor spoke too slowly in the middle part, which sometimes made it difficult to follow the timeline. That was presentation 2 of Unit 4. Now we are going to move on to presentation 3. Moving on to the third presentation, it covered Unit 5 and the title was Vocabulary. The summary of the content is that the professor mainly focused on the implications of using social media in global communication patterns. The segment concerning the statistics and percentages utilized to bolster his arguments struck me as especially engaging. The figures presented were highly persuasive and properly referenced. I really liked this presentation. The organization, the clarity of the sections were perfect and they managed the time very well. It was easy to follow. The only thing that could be improved is the speaker's pronunciation. Some technical vocabulary words were hard to understand clearly. That was presentation 3, Unit 5. Finally, the fourth presentation I selected was about Unit 6, titled Passive Voice, Present. The summary of the content indicates that the presentation clearly covered and elucidated the distinctions between two distinct physiological viewpoints. That contrast regarding environmental sustainability. The part that most captured my attention was the concluding section, where they incorporated a short quotation from an expert, which rendered the final thoughts highly impactful. My favorable assessment is that the presentation proved to be highly creative and aesthetically engaging. The efficient deployment of graphs and diagrams assisted in clarifying the intricate concepts. What I did not appreciate was the absence of interactivity. It was strictly informative, and perhaps a brief segment dedicated to questions and answers or even a survey might have engaged the audience more. In conclusion, these 4 presentations,